Hey, what's up? My name is Silva. Today we're going to continue with how to render different types of metal. Today it's going to be weathered steel. Now, what do I mean by weathered steel? Basically, this steel has been affected by the weather, the environment, anything that affects the steel, it's going to be weathered. If someone hammers with it, it's weathered. If someone throws a rock at it, it's weathered. If it rains on it and it starts to corrode, then it's weathered. You get the point. Winds, etc. So all the elements that the steel is exposed to and it's being affected by and damaged by, it's gonna be weathered. So for this one, I'm thinking of having some rain corrosion. I think that's gonna look pretty neat. Also some scratches, dirt. So this thing has been going around and being beaten up by all sorts of things, and that should give it character. So we're gonna go ahead and do exactly that. Now I have it on a separate layer here. First thing we gotta do is change color. Now I have a key short for it, which is Control U, but you can go ahead and go to Image, Adjustment, and where is it? Hue, Saturation. You can click in there, you get this little window here, and let's click Colorize because it's purely gray, and that's gonna affect that. Now, observing it, it seems like it has a blue undertone to it. I don't know if it's because of the sky or just the material itself, but it seems like there's more of a blue color to it, more of a blue undertone, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna pick a blue that we feel like, yeah, right about here, but it's a little bit too saturated. So we're gonna just pump the saturation about a 11. That should be okay for a start. And also we're gonna use another tool which is pretty cool, called, you go to Image, Adjustments, and Replace Color. And this one is pretty cool too. What it does is I pick, for example, with steel, it seems like it goes from, you know, a bluish undertone to whitish kind of still blue, or any other cold color that you may like to give to your steel. But in this case, I'm just gonna keep the same, make it a little lighter here, and pump the saturation of it. Now we can adjust the hue. Like if I probably can't see much, I can see now it's warm color, now it's cold color. We had some green in there. I'm gonna actually give this a little bit more of a cyan kind of tint to it, but still trying to keep it whitish. Spread that a little bit more on that side. Now on the shadow side, however, I want to have some of the parts to be a little bit of a brown color, to give a little bit of color variation, and when I'll actually be corroding this cube, it's actually gonna help us with making it look like it's a little dirty. So I'm switching the hue, the fuzziness a little lower. I'm gonna lower down the saturation. Now because this is blue, I'm lowering down the saturation. It's gonna make it look like it has a brownish tone to it. Saturation even more. The fuzziness, I mean. Right about there. Now on the very core of the shadow, here is gonna be a lot affected. So instead of going ahead changing it to brown, actually this looks pretty good. I was just gonna go for desaturation, which looks pretty nice, but once I switched the hue to a more brownish tone, there's a few brown color variations. I actually like that. I'm gonna keep it. Let's try exactly the same thing on this side. But now it's affecting too much, I believe. There you go. So where it's gonna be weathered, I'm gonna go ahead and make that look like it's more of a copper brown color. Now it's a pretty neat tool. I really like it. Of course, first you gotta paint the cube, right? And give it some values. Now that we have this base set up, let's add a little bit of corrosion to it. Now the corrosion itself is gonna be a desaturated, darker tone, so a bit more saturation. Yeah, that should be good. So I'm gonna go ahead and just paint the corrosion. Alright, I feel like we have a pretty nice kind of rain corrosion going on here. We're gonna go ahead and add another weather effect. How about some dust? Now, this is gonna have a brownish color as well, but I don't want the same kind of brown, so I'm gonna go a little bit more towards yellow, like so. We're gonna pick a brush. Any brush goes with it, but as long as it has a speckly kind of texture to it, you're pretty much good to go. So I'm gonna dab into it some areas. and also make it a little darker to build up the thickness of the dust. So some areas is gonna be more dirtier than others, like so. And notice that I keep switching my brush from big to small. So if it's big, I can see bigger speckles. If it's smaller, then there's just a fuzzy brush stroke, and I can get into details and make some scratches and dust particles by myself without the need of the texture. So the base of it, let's pretend that it's been tumbling around. Now maybe the wind has been pushing it around if it's a small enough cube and strong enough wind. So the base of it right here, it's gonna have a mix of scratchiness and dirt. I still need to make it a little darker. This time just gonna put it at the very base and dab it a couple of times till it looks alright. Alright. Now the metal itself should go darker. So we have a lot of browns here, which is cool, but even the steel color should go darker in some areas. So that's what we're gonna do. Like right around where it corrodes goes a darker blue. Again, same thing, I make my brush smaller or bigger depending on how detailed do I want to get and how much texture do I want to get it. So if I want a lot of texture, I'll make it big and dab it around so you can see like those little particles. But if I want to do it manually, I'll make it small and get in there and do it by hand. And there you go. Now, I'm feeling like these edges are a little too hard. Let's chip them in a little bit. So if it's been tumbling around, there should be chipped edges. I'm actually gonna pick a different brush that's a little harder and still has texture, so like that. Gonna chip it around, make it like it's been tumbling over. Especially here at the bottom. Now, we're starting to slowly build up character, and that in that sense we're also building a little bit of a story here just by giving texture, which is also pretty cool. Because if it's just polished steel, then you know it's something that's brand new. But you know, for example, in a knight, right, in an armor knight, you know, he's been in wars and battling and stuff like that. It's not gonna be clean, obviously. It's gonna have chips and scratches and little dents, things like that. And that's kind of what we're going for here. Imperfections. It gives something more to look at as well. If it's just a plain cube like on the right, it's just plain. There you go. Now, because it's been weathered, if you pass your hand over the surface of whatever material, but in this case of weathered steel, you'd feel all this roughness in it, but also in some areas it's gonna be actually soft, where the elements didn't actually quite get there, or it weren't enough to rough that area out. Of course, this is pretending that this is someone polished this cube and then throw it out the window, and then all the elements are affecting that cube. Obviously, this is not a raw material. Right now, with that in mind, I'm actually going to bring a tiny little bit of specularity to it in some areas, and I'm actually going to use color dodge. Now, this is a very useful tool. I use it here on the raw gold. I like it because I can easily make highlights that have, it's a little bit more three-dimensional. It's not just a highlight of a single color. It gives a range of 2 colors at least. So if I pass it over some areas, it gives a little bit of 2 types of blue here, based on the underneath color, as you can see, like right there. I feel like that's pretty cool. I'm actually gonna go ahead and change this to midtones to give it a bit of a whiter effect instead. That just a little bit. We don't wanna overdo it, right? And also you can choose any texture brush you want with this. I'm gonna use the same as I used throughout this whole painting, and I'm gonna dab it here and there, like so. Yep, and go back to highlight mode and do exactly the same thing. It's a little stronger right now, but we're gonna paint it over, so there's no worries about that. Yeah, alright, so back to the normal brush. We're gonna paint it over just a tiny little bit, so it's not fully, I just want a small area of glossiness, and I'm actually gonna color pick some of that very bright blue and just dab it here and there, little speculars. Just trying to make this as interesting as possible. Right, now the more you research about metal, how it's processed, and depending on the type of metal, what effects occur onto it, then the more skilled you're going to be at portraying exactly that knowledge. It's very, very important to do that instead of the other way around. Instead of just guessing how metal might look like no, like read something about it, watch some of the commentaries if you're not into reading that much. Do anything you can to know more about the subject you're about to paint, and that goes for everything, literally everything. Cars, if you want to paint pancakes, potatoes, whatever you want to paint, research about it, and you'll be able to portray it much, much better and make it more interesting as well. Okay, so this is coming out pretty nicely. It has a little bit of character in it, not too much, but enough. Now I want to add a little bit of a I want to add a little bit of a highlight, as if this was dented in from tumbling around. So it a little rougher there. Now if you remember how much highlight I put it in there as opposed to how much I'm actually painting over, you notice that it's a lot. I only barely leave any highlight points because, well, we wanted to make it rough. It's exactly what we're doing now. Gonna keep going. Now this side is smooth, and I think I'm gonna keep it as smooth as possible, but still weathered. Maybe this side and the bottom have been the most exposed and actually been more beaten out here, these sides. But yeah, we'll still add some dust to it, going back to the same speckly kind of brush. Gonna go ahead and do exactly the same thing, but not as much. Just a little bit, so we can have some variation to it. Obviously, at the bottom sides, we're gonna have more dirt, a bit more worn out as well. But again, we decided that we don't want to make it as much as the frontal part. Should we add a little bit of weather, like a rain corrosion? Just a tiny little bit. Right. Also, consistency in your metals, it's important to me, at least. So if we added a little bit of, you know, rain weathering or rain corrosion in one side, we should add a little bit all over as well, since this has been tumbling around. It most likely has been affected in all sides, right? And there you go. Actually, let me go back and add a little bit more of speckly kind of texture, but still smooth. Just still keep it smooth, matte, not glossy anyways, even though it's smoother than obviously than the frontal side. We don't want it to be as rough. Gonna add some dents, dots in some areas, and bring a little bit more of the deeper blue, like so, instead. So on this side there's gonna be more dented areas, like something sharp damaged that area as opposed to being scratched. Got a couple of more of those here too. Now notice that for the most part of the texture, I'm actually tapping in my brush instead of drawing out the shape of the dent, right? Let's give it a scar. Well, it's not really a scar, but you know what I mean. Give it like maybe something just really went across here. Who knows? And it's part of the imagination, what possibly could have caused that. What possibly split this a little bit or cut this. Alright, alright. It's going pretty well. Now, the edges seem to be a little too clean. And we're close to finishing this cube up, but I wanted to make it much more imperfect. That's basically what we're gonna work on now. On this side is obviously, as we said, gonna be less, but still have some dents in it. So, feathering of it, affecting the top parts. Have little dents at the top part, here at the edges. Definitely texturing is, to me, it's really a lot about just tap 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 with your brush. It brings out most of the texture, honestly, if you're using a texture brush. Even when just a normal round one gives a nice effect for textures. So here at the base, I'm gonna make it really scratched in a few directions, like so. And for just a detail, I'm gonna grab a brush that has like a hairy feeling, and actually if you lightly dab it across, it's gonna have that kind of scratched effect, which I feel like it's pretty cool. Bring a little bit of the blue. Like so. Then go back to the main brush. Where is it? Right there. I'm gonna dab it again because I lost some of that dotted texture. And I believe we're pretty damn close to finish this. Yeah, I think it looks pretty neat, so there you go. We made a weathered steel. We have thought about what kind of affected it, which is very important, and possibly could be a little bit story driven or not, but the fact that we thought about something gives it automatically more character, because we're not just, oh, put a texture here, put a texture there, we're done. We're actually trying to think of what happened to this thing, right? And that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one.